now week 6 of 9-week session, so only a third of it's left, and this is when things start to get a bit exciting. But I'm a little jealous of Jeff. I listened in on his program at 9, and he's got all the fun, exciting stuff this year. So anyway, our bills, the first two bills here, 619 and 1534, the CEI sovereign immunity bill has come out of Rules Committee in the Senate day before yesterday. So it's ready on both sides for the floor. And they do have it on the second reading calendar. So I don't know exactly what their plan is, but having 3 weeks left is plenty of time to get that thing through. It has no opposition at this point, so I would look for that to be done here fairly soon. And as soon as
Alan,
I say that,
this is John. Alan, this is John. I spoke to
Uh-huh.
the speaker's office already on it, and my text back was, you don't have anything to worry about. So
Yeah.
I took that as a good sign.
Yeah.
So.
Well, as soon as I say it should happen soon, that means that they're going to hold it until the last day of session, and then, they'll do it about 9 o'clock at night. But no, I hear you, and it looks like it's in real good shape. Okay, I moved this bill up because we're in full opposition mode to some language that's in Senate Bill 266 and in the House bill. If you click on the Senate bill, you'll find the language at line 563. And basically what our general counsel has determined, and I think I spoke about this a little bit last week, WGI had raised the point, and so Kurt's taken a look at it and talked with Dave, and agrees that this paragraph there is a problem, that in certain situations it would, the contractor would be immune from acts and omissions of their own subcontractors. And his fear is then that would leave, the design engineer as the next party that's got an insurance policy to go after. So I've talked with Anth a couple of times about it. First time was a couple of weeks ago, and then I saw him at a lunch on Tuesday, and spoke to him about it again. He's not willing to agree to take this out. So the move is on our side to have that language removed. John, I don't know if you have any updates on that. I know you've spoken with Senator Hooper.
Yeah, no, Derek and I actually just had a call on this. He and I, we just got to get our take it up the food chain. I did talk to Senator Hooper. He didn't commit one way or the other. I think he was going to try to vet it out with staff, and then but he did tell me there's several people coming to him up about that bill with some problems. So anyhow, yeah, it's basically we've just got to start moving it up the food chain and getting leadership and some other folks looking at it.
Right. So I've spoken to the landscape architects. Diana Ferguson said she would talk to Hooper. I don't know if she has yet or not. It's been a few days. She probably has. And then also with the surveyors and mappers, to make sure that they're aware, since they're named in that paragraph. So the move is on. And then there was also at the Transportation Committee meeting last week or the week before, I'm losing track of time, it was brought up about line 418 of the bill adds design build contracts and phase design build contracts to the language that requires FDOT to receive at least 3 letters of interest in order to move forward. There was some concern about that. So I spoke with Lita Kelly, the chief of staff over at DOT earlier this week, and just asked her, where is the department on this one? And she told me she would get back to me, and I haven't heard anything from her. So I'll give her a call back this afternoon and just see where she's at on that. I hadn't heard anything. JW, have you heard anything?
No, I have not, Alan.
Okay. Yeah, she was going to check with Will, so I'll see. I'll try to get in touch with her today and see where they're at on that. Melissa, did you just join?
Hey, Alan, I've been on the call since it started,
okay.
so I caught your update.
Okay, so yeah, I appreciate you all sticking to that because, as you know, we were thinking the bill was okay, but good catch by you and Dave.
Yeah, and I talked to Anath about that as well on my last trip up to up to Tallahassee, and he kind of waved off any of our concerns and said it shouldn't be a problem for us, but I don't know that I trust that analysis.
Yeah, I'll go with Kurt on that one.
Yeah, I will too. Thanks.
Okay, so moving on, and I know John had said he was going to get in touch with Representative Esposito too, who has that bill over on the House side. So we're working on that one. So the next two are the continuing contracts bill. I think this one's another one that's poised to go. Again, we got the geotech language out of it a few weeks back, and it now moves the construction threshold to 7.5 million versus 4, and it puts an index on there for future years. So it'll go up a few percent each year, and we won't have to deal with this again. For those that don't know, we changed this about 3 years ago, went from 2 million to 4 million, and that's already not enough. Um, so we're going to raise it and then index it. The alternative mobility funding systems, that one's ready for the floor on the House side. Got one more committee in the Senate, but I understand that it's become quite controversial, and the cities and counties are fighting this real hard. Um, and that's just, I would expect that when they're talking about how they raise their money for improvements when things are being developed. So we'll continue to keep an eye on that. We're kind of, basically what they're doing is limiting, impact fees to some extent, and in replacing that with some alternative funding systems. Um, so we'll let them fight that, but we'll keep a close eye on it just to be able to report to you what happens. And then the sovereign immunity bills, as the Senate bill hasn't moved for at least a couple of weeks, a little bit longer than a couple of weeks. So I don't know, again, the cities and counties are going to fight that hard. Now that is doing okay on the House side. Um, but I would say this, the reason I have question marks down there, when I was going through all the legislation last night, even though this was passed on Wednesday in a committee, it doesn't show it as passed. It doesn't show it moved to second reading. So I'm not exactly sure what's going on there. It was on the agenda for the Judiciary Committee, but I'm going to have to look in to see exactly what happened, because I went to both the House site and the Senate site just to see what I could find out, and they're not reporting anything other than it was on the agenda on Wednesday. So I'll take a look at that and report back next week. And then the transportation bill by Gruters, 1032, the language that was in there to abolish the Transportation Commission has been taken out. There's a few things, the MPOs, the issue of the MPOs and prohibiting the designation of additional MPOs is causing some concern amongst the local governments as well. So they're busy on that one. 7049 has only passed one committee. It's been a couple of weeks on that one. And so we'll continue to watch that, but the language about the Transportation Commission has been taken out of that bill. 1226 and 1301. Derek, are you on the line?
He's not today, Alan. Sorry.
Okay. He's been following that real close with the airports and stuff. So my understanding is they've gotten that taken care of, and it'll be on the agenda next week. And I guess the amendments will be there to take out the
Yes.
parts that were concerning to the airports and the seaports.
Yes, that's correct.
moving quickly. Jump in, folks, if you have any questions on any of this. Okay, the aviation bill. Do you have any update on that, John? I've been kind of deferring to Derek on that one as well.
No, I mean, I don't.
There was
I'm
at
sorry,
the
same thing you've been.
yeah, at the lunch on Tuesday, which is a group, it's done through, set up by Floridians for Better Transportation, and has everything from railroads to Space Florida and a bunch of different people, different parts of transportation. Many of them were kind of expressing, that concern about this. I guess they call them, I don't want to call it a heliport, but they were, they were questioning this whole thing about, the things that this bill's trying to do. And I know Florida, the Secretary of DOT and others have said, they want Florida out in front on this issue. But then some of the folks that, were heavy into transportation were, I wouldn't say they dislike the bill, but they're not liking it very much. So I'm not exactly sure what their problem is. But obviously, um, it's moving on both sides. So I don't know if they
Yeah,
plan any
it's
opposite.
definitely, yeah, I don't know. It's definitely an important bill to the DOT for sure.
Yeah, vertiport is the word I was looking for a minute ago. So, and the questions I've heard about that bill in the past was that they're not lined up with the federal government on this, and the federal government really controls this area. So maybe that's what they're concerned about. But anyway, I mean, it was a brief conversation when they talked about the bill, and we moved on. So just be aware that that's in the background.
Alan, I think on the vertiport, I know that the Palm Beach County Commission actually approved the placement of one at Palm Beach International Airport. Jonathan Kilman was the lobbyist on that project. I think he represents one of the vertiport operators. So if you have questions on that bill, Kilman might be a good person to call.
Okay, I'll keep that in mind. Thanks, Melissa. Okay, and then that brings us finally to the licensing bills, and it's all about this interstate mobility. We've got some issues, I think, with the language of 455 that Zaina has talked to me about, and I've talked with the other stakeholders about. That again, for those that have been on here in the past, it's more a situation where they don't have us in the bill, but this language to 455 would affect us and affect the Board of Professional Engineers. So something that we're working on that has passed in the House or in the Senate, two of its three committees, but it's been a couple of weeks since anything happened. Actually, on the House side, you can see that the 1381 hasn't moved at all. But what they did was took a lot of the language out of that bill and put it on that next bill, 1273, which was just done yesterday. And that includes language that says that, if a PE from out of state applies for a license in Florida and the board determines that that state they're coming from that their requirements are not substantially similar to ours, then they can deny that application. It doesn't happen very often because most of the states are fairly consistent on their requirements. But where it would happen, then it would go to the secretary who could overrule the board. And the board has a problem with that, and Zaina has a problem with that because the question is, then what do you need the board for if it's just going to go to the secretary? Obviously, if the secretary is making the call, he's going to talk to the governor's office, who's actually going to make the call. And we have had some instances in the past where legislators have tried to do something, and they'll cite, and I remember one guy had come from North Carolina, and but he didn't have he didn't have a college degree. Somehow in the past, I don't know, grandfathered in or something, but somehow got a PE in North Carolina. I don't think he could do that today, but he had one. And so we had some government officials asking us to help get the guy a license, which we didn't do, but you know, that situation does come up from time to time. And we just think, you know, the board's there for a reason. They're all experts in the field, and it doesn't need to go up to the secretary to be overruled. Well, anyway, that's kind of my report. Anybody got questions?
Alan, I assume they talked on the other call, but what about the stormwater rule?
It's on the floor on both sides, and it looks like it's going to pass. There may be some additional tweaking. It's been amended a few times, and now it's set so that I think DOT has 2 years, a 2-year delay, and everybody else will have an 18-month delay on those numeric reductions. And I've heard, you know, from sources that the plan really is they've backed it up 18 months, and they had it backed up for 12. Now it's going to be 18, but gives them time to come back in session next year to do any tweaking. And I'm hearing one of those tweaks is going to be to get rid of those numeric values. They're doing it this way so that, you know, the bill becomes ratified. If they change too much of it, they'd have to go back, and DEP would have to go back and start from scratch. So I think they're trying to avoid that, but giving themselves, you know, next session to you know, really vet this thing out and like I say, possibly get rid of those numeric reductions.
All right, thank you.
Mhm. Anybody else? All right. Well, thanks, everybody. We got 3 more of these to go.
Thanks, Alan.
Thanks,
Great.
Alan.
Thank you.
Have a good
Thank you.
weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks,
everyone.
guys.
Thank you.